What's up, and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to talk about how to get motivated when you don't like the way you look. Now I know that this is a little bit different from my regular content, okay, but this is something that I personally have struggled with, and it's something that I get DMs, comments, emails, whatever other methods of communication there are. I get messages about this daily. Okay, I get messages along the lines of, I want to work out, but I just don't feel comfortable going to the gym. Or I hate my insert body part here, please help me. Or maybe you've fallen off track and no matter what you do, you can't seem to get back on track. Okay, these are messages, these are things that I'm hearing all the time, and these are things that in the past, I've also told myself daily. Something that really pisses me off is when people say, chill, it's fine, love yourself as is, self-love, acceptance. Great, but there's no roadmap for that. And sometimes I feel like by telling somebody that, it can be even more discouraging because you're kind of glossing over the actual issue. So I'm hoping that through sharing my experience and giving you guys a couple questions and a couple things to think about, that it might help you if you are in a similar situation. Before I get to my lowest point and where I was at when I was feeling all these things, I want to give you guys some context first. Okay, so I first started weightlifting. I first got into fitness in 2012. At the time, I was very thin, underweight even, and it was the first time in years, like in a really, maybe even ever, that I was okay with the idea of getting bigger and stronger. Okay, so I started lifting weights, I started eating more, I started educating myself, and it was great, okay, because I was transforming my body and it felt like almost every day I was either getting stronger or looking different or seeing new definition, and I was so happy with the way that I looked and the way that I felt. I was wearing clothes that I never would have dreamed of wearing before. I felt confident in the gym. I felt confident in my relationship. I loved everything about what I was doing. And the craziest part was that I really wasn't doing anything crazy to maintain this body. I actually maintained that body, give or take a couple pounds, for probably about 3 years. All right, so from 2012 to 2015, I maintained that physique. All right, around 2016, maybe late 2015, though, I was in my final year of university and I started packing on the pounds. It was a very stressful year for me. I began slipping up. I began developing bad habits, and I'm going to get my dates wrong here, but basically over the course of my final school year in university, I gained around 20 pounds. I'd lost all definition. Even when I was trying to flex hard, there was literally no definition. It was like, does she even lift? No definition in my body. I was constantly puffy and kind of bloated through my face and through my stomach from honestly eating junk. And one of the most shocking things for me was that my skin condition had changed a lot. I had never really experienced cellulite before. Nobody in my family had it. And so my skin went from being tight and firm, especially on my thighs, to having this like orange peel like texture. I didn't even know if it was cellulite at the time. It was just this very drastic change that felt like it happened all of a sudden to my body. Now, before I go any further, I want to make something very clear. There is nothing inherently wrong with any of these attributes, okay? There's nothing wrong with cellulite. There's nothing wrong with losing your shape a little bit, okay? There's nothing wrong with that, all right? But the reason that I think I was struggling so much was because it was such a significant change for me relative to where I had been. Okay, so I knew what I was capable of, and yet my body, I'd completely let myself go. I was not treating my body in a way that I could be proud of or in a way that I thought was being respectful to myself, if that makes sense. What I found really hard was that before I had a lot more motivation because I liked the way I looked, I liked the way I felt, and I knew that I looked and felt that way because I was taking care of myself. Problem was, once I let myself go, let's call it that, I didn't have that motivation anymore. Even if I got on track with training, got on track with nutrition, I wasn't going to have that immediate gratification of looking good. It was going to be a gradual and longer term process to get back to where I was before. Okay, and it was really, really tough because I also didn't like any activity or anything that reminded me of just how far I'd slipped. I hated going to the gym. I hated taking pictures. I hated form-fitting or even somewhat revealing clothes. I hated looking at myself in the mirror. Like, basic things made me very, very uncomfortable at the time. Again, I want to make this very clear, not because there was anything inherently wrong with the way I looked, but it was because every time that I looked at my body or every time that I felt my body move even, I was reminded of how I used to feel and how I used to look and just how far I let myself slip because I did not make myself a priority and I did not make personal care, basic things, a priority for so long. So it was this awkward balance of wanting to take care of myself better, but also not wanting to do those things that would allow me to do that because they reminded me of how far I let myself slip. What I found helpful, first and foremost, was to shift the emphasis completely off of how I looked. I know that might sound kind of backwards and you might be thinking, but I want to look good. I get it, okay? But before you start focusing on looking good, you want to feel good. Because when you're feeling good consistently, you're going to feel much more inclined to go to the gym, to eat the right foods. You're going to have that much more energy and motivation to do those things that'll actually get you looking good. Taking this back to basics, you're going to work out. Instead of focusing on your body or focusing on that body part that you don't like, is there a color you like? Is there a TV show, movie, or funny quote that every time you look at it, it makes you smile? Okay, I know this sounds really silly, all right, but when I was getting back on track, I straight up went to Walmart, went to Target. I got myself a bunch of Star Wars shirts in the boys department. I know it sounds silly, all right, but it was inexpensive. And honestly, every time I put on these shirts, I felt kind of happy. I felt like it was not an inside joke I had with myself. That's the wrong way to phrase it. But it made me feel more positive about the experience of going to the gym. Another question. Is there a physical activity you're already good at or that you have an interest in that maybe you could do more of? For me, that was pole fitness. I always wanted to try pole fitness. Now, in case you haven't heard of it before, it is just as it sounds. You are dancing on a pole. There's no stripping. I'm sure you could have. It was a very open-minded studio, but most of us were wearing a sports bra and shorts. And what I loved about it was that even though it was a traditionally sexy activity, the emphasis was completely removed from the way you looked and instead put on the way you were moving your body and the way that you felt moving your body. Even though you might think that you have to focus on looking good or losing weight in order to get there, it doesn't have to start with that. And if you're anything like me, I do a lot better with positive reinforcement rather than constantly making myself feel guilty or negatively talking down on the way I look. If you focus on feeling good first, and I'm not talking about that temporary feeling good when you eat a pint of Ben & Jerry's, not talking about that. If you focus on feeling good first, looking good will follow. I'd love to help you get started. I'd love to help you work towards your goals, whatever those may be. And that's why I've put together a quick quiz for you. I'm going to ask you a series of questions. It won't take long. Get a better idea of your starting point and then send you custom results. All right, I hope you guys found this video helpful. I hope that this maybe changed your mind on getting started, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.